Major developments today in North Carolina that could impact the future of a congressional seat there. A three-judge panel has denied a request by the State Board of Elections to continue in their current form so they can complete their investigation into allegations of election fraud in the state's 9th district. The board refused to certify the results that show that Republican Mark Harris had defeated Democrat Dan McCready by just 905 votes. At issue, accusations that a political consultant working for Harris was illegally harvesting absentee ballots to aid the Harris campaign. Now, the board was scheduled to hold a public hearing on the matter on January 11th, but now that hearing is in doubt, and as of noon today, there is no one sitting on the State Board of Elections in North Carolina. As a result, Republicans are preparing to go to court to get Mark Harris seated before Congress reconvenes. And joining me now to discuss this is Dallas Woodhouse. He is the executive director of the North Carolina Republican Party. Dallas, just 3 weeks ago, I was in North Carolina reporting this story. You told me that if early vote totals were leaked before the votes were to be counted, and you thought they were, that a new election should take place. Today, you're saying these results should be certified. Why the change of heart?
Well, simply being that we've had 3 weeks and the State Board of Elections has not put forward evidence of these things. These were rumors. They were innuendo. There were stories about thousands of ballots being destroyed. That didn't happen. And now the North Carolina State Board of Elections, that became defunct at noon today, failed in their duty, which was required under the law, the Constitution, and morally, to certify Mark Harris the winner because he got more legal votes. They have not put forward evidence to show that he didn't, and it was clear that the three-judge panel, which was made up of 2 Democrats and 1 Republican, was concerned that the Board of Elections, led by Governor Cooper's appointee, Joshua Malcolm, was just going to continue a never-ending fishing expedition, not to uncover the truth, because the truth is the evidence did not exist to justify denying Mr. Harris, but simply to keep this going, to try not to see Mr. Harris, to try to sully his name and his reputation, and to see if they could somehow figure a way to take away an election victory earned by Mr. Harris and Republicans at the ballot box. But Mr. Harris got more legal votes. He should be certified and he should go to Congress.
But Dallas, in response to the point that the Harris campaign made about the State Board of Elections not concluding their investigation in a timely fashion, they respond that Harris did not supply them with some 140,000 documents to cooperate with their investigation.
This is outrageous. I have never been so angry about anything. The Democrat head of the State Board of Elections, who has been disgraced by the 3-judge panel, he put out that statement, not the other board members. He has tried to sully again Mr. Harris's name. Mr. Harris has been fully cooperative.
So Dallas, did he submit
reams of documents?
Has he submitted these 140,000 documents?
Malcolm, hold on a minute. He's not required to send to a Democrat every piece of paper the campaign ever put forward. And by the way, it is irrelevant. The Board of Elections needed to establish that these things happened, that they happened at all. Mr. Harris only ever touched his ballot, his. He didn't have anything to add. This was an absolutely atrocious smear by a disgraced Democrat elections chair, the former chair now on the way out. It is unconscionable.
But Dallas, originally this Board of Elections unanimously voted not to certify the results. There was a 7-2 vote to continue their investigation. Wouldn't it benefit the voters of the 9th district to see this investigation through to the end?
Originally, Godzilla was a lizard. How long are we going to wait? It is 54 days since the general election. They have put forward virtually no relevant evidence. A couple of affidavits that are filled with hearsay about somebody doing something or hearing something. They have put no concrete evidence, and it is their job to do that. It is not the job of Mark Harris to prove that he shouldn't be certified. He won the election. He should be certified, and I believe a federal court will order the state of North Carolina to do so.
All right, so that seems to be the next stage of this for Republicans, heading to federal court to see Mark Harris seated. Dallas Woodhouse, we appreciate you bringing us your perspective. Thank you. Let's get the Democratic view on this. I want to bring in the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, Wayne Goodwin. Mr. Chairman, you heard what Dallas Woodhouse had to say there. Would it be your preference that this current board, or at least a board in some fashion, a board that Roy Cooper, the governor, would appoint, he said he's going to do that today, would be able to see this investigation through until the end?
The short answer is yes. And what is shocking and is unconscionable is that the North Carolina Republican Party has day in and day out changed its tune on this. It seems like their position has changed depending upon the day of the week. This is purely obstruction of an ongoing investigation. Governor Cooper and the state of North Carolina and our voters have had to deal multiple times with the Republican-led legislature passing unconstitutional laws trying to destabilize and recreate the Board of Elections. Governor Cooper has done what he needed to do, and that is to appoint members of a board based upon the last constitutional law that created a state board of elections. This investigation needs to continue, and despite what you heard a moment ago, the Board of Elections has provided hundreds and hundreds of pages of documents for folks to know what is going on. And of course, during an investigation, most documents can't be released until the investigation is complete. So it is shocking, it is unconscionable, but it's because of what the Republican Party is doing. Mark Harris is trying to steal this election. It is obstruction of an investigation.
So, Mr. Chairman, to that point, why did the Democratic Party of North Carolina not appeal this decision by the three-judge panel to keep the board in its current composition to finish this investigation? Why did they allow it just to dissolve today at noon without any type of court challenge?
Well, there is a very short window, and of course I'm not the attorney for Governor Cooper or for the state of North Carolina, but what I will tell you is this, is that in order to keep the investigation on track for the January 11th hearing, it was vital that there be a Board of Elections constituted based on what the last constitutional law was for a Board of Elections. The Republican Party of North Carolina and the Republican legislative leaders have multiple times now distracted and delayed and done all they can to destabilize our state Board of Elections and the elections process. Why is it they now are saying they don't want to have this investigation go through? This is obstruction. The Governor Cooper is trying to do the best that he can within the law so that we can have the board as it is currently established and as it will be established under the last constitutional law of this to get the work done. There is ample evidence that's been provided publicly, and I am confident there is even more evidence that the Republicans apparently don't want us to see. This is obstruction of an investigation. The Republicans are trying to steal a congressional election in the 9th Congressional District.
Okay, just one last question for you, Chairman. Governor Cooper has indicated that he will attempt to seat a board to continue this investigation until a new board can be seated at the end of January. This is a little bit of in the weeds for people that haven't been following the story chapter and verse. The Republicans have said that they are not going to submit 2 names to sit on this board. Theoretically, the governor could submit those 3 Democratic names. They could sit. There could be a quorum. They could continue this investigation, but it would be without any Republican support. It's likely this could go further down the road into a court battle. Would you be comfortable with the idea of a Board of Elections without any kind of Republican representation at all continuing on this investigation, or would you worry that it would be tainted and would make this process even more complicated than it already is?
It's been tainted by how the Republicans have treated this process here in North Carolina. As soon as I received the letter from Governor Cooper, which was received simultaneously by the Republican Party chair, Chairman Hayes,
I don't mean to cut
submitted.
you off, but I just need to know this definitively. I understand that you plan to sit those 3 Democrat members on that board, and I understand that that is your position, but are you okay with the idea of there only being 3 Democrats on this board making this decision? I understand that, the Republicans to a certain extent are obstructing this in their own way by not adding those Republicans, but wouldn't it make sense to have both Republicans and Democrats be a part of this investigation and see it through?
It would make most sense to have Republicans join us as Democrats in having this board do its business. They can't have unclean hands and claim that this board, as newly constituted, can't do its job when they won't submit names themselves. The board will have to do what it needs to do. If it means only the folks who show up to do their job, then so be it. But I'll tell you, it is shameful and unconscionable that the Republicans are trying to have it both ways whenever the voters are being denied the right to have their choice for a member of Congress for the 9th Congressional District. It is shocking, and I'm ashamed to hear what's happening on the Republican side of the aisle about this.
All right, a very complicated story. Chairman Goodwin, we appreciate you being here trying to unpack it all. The bottom line on this is that there's a very good chance that the voters of the 9th Congressional District in North Carolina will be without a representative of Congress when the new Congress convenes at the beginning of the year. Chairman, thank you very much for being here.